Alright, good morning. It's time for some early morning riggy session. Seems like found ourselves into some decent tables. Just left two other ones. Seems some good stack sizes on the top two on the left. We also have the Omega Whale. I didn't know what color this guy should be in since he's his own category, but we went with the cyan. Ace 10 suited, low jack versus big blind, smaller size. I think we can continue a lot. Still finding some folds here with probably the lowest pairs, but I think we can continue a lot. And I actually missed that this was a cold call 3-bet. I thought it was just me open and then 3-bet. Still think it's an okay spot to call, as we don't expect the small blind cold caller to the low jack open to do much cold call 4-betting, I guess, but definitely a little dicey bringing them in. And a half pot into 3 players is decently strong. I think the cold call can definitely have 9s. Big blind can have a lot of 9s as well, but also over pairs looking for protection that should probably take that type of sizing. I think with our basically 1 over to his jacks type of range and no real other things going for us, we're just going to fold versus a half pot bet there. And looks like they take it down. Looks like we have a limp pot here. We're just going to go ahead and take a stab for min size, as well as marking some shorties. Are the tags off or something? Let's see if we can get HM3 to mark. Been having a bunch of issues with marking working. Oh, did our friend leave? Looks like Omega Whale has got bored. Had some good battles, lots of emojis thrown at each other too. So it's sad to see them go. They would just check jam, second pair, and then top pair weak kicker a lot, so it seems like they're just looking for a lot of protection. So fairly easy to play against. Queen jack off, we're just going to go for the ISO versus the short stack limp and the hijack. Probably one of our weakest hands. I'm not sure if we're going to do this with queen 10 off, but I think it's okay. Inflate pot, it's more in position versus these profiles. We get 2 callers, 2 overs, and no heart. I think it's going to be hard for us to do much with this hand. 7-5 suited. Could see an argument for opening, but when we're all pretty short with our target players here, I'm just going to prefer to open like Broadway offsuits as opposed to like suited gappers, I think. And they're going to make our lives pretty easy for us, even if it's just a lower 1 heart X that they're doing this with. They have plenty of equity, and it's probably going to be hard for us to play against 2 players, so we're going to just toss queen jack off. And this player is unmarkable. We open queen jack off in the cutoff, and ace king versus a short stack in the big blind, king 10-4. I'm planning to just bet small here, range, especially versus this player type. Going for that here. Potentially board we can have some bigger sizes on and checks as well. versus two callers. A lot of paired boards can just 25p range. I think this is one of the ones that's better for them. And versus two opponents, just gonna check back here. Also not against just betting the queen jack off here, but not opposed to just seeing if some better spots come to us, such as heads up versus fish versus playing against two players, where we probably should have some sort of checking range. Just trying, I guess, not to force as many spots. Queen nine off is probably close versus a 3x open. We're gonna get in there. Flop top pair, probably plan to raise here at a fairly high frequency. It's a board that I would expect the button to have kind of a half pot plus or check sizing. They have a lot of value type of hands that can use protection, and don't think they gain it too much from range betting. And on a very low roll here, we're just gonna go for the check call this time. I have a pretty bricky turn. I'm not sure if they're supposed to slow down on this turn, if it's essential brick nature, if they start to polarize with some of those overpairs and strong 9x. We'll probably pick up some more hands on this turn, such as 6-4 suited that they might not have. And I think I like the size of 3/4, just continuing with a medium large bet. And I think we're gonna just call down and then plan to call most rivers. This will be one of our strongest hands, besides the random two pairs that we turn and pocket fours. We're just gonna call versus this largest bet. And we have an interesting decision here. We have like a medium low board that stays medium low, so potentially an over bluff spot, especially button versus big blind. Even with the diamond peeling off, I think we are calling most bets, can consider folding versus some over bets, I think. And it turns out they had the king 8. Which don't hate too much. I think they should follow through on rivers, but it's not a very selective bluff. It's blocking some 7-8, I guess, but I don't know if we get there with that hand very often. So we're probably playing it more aggressively than we were. So yeah, it seems a little random, and then especially the slowdown on the river. Just mark some shorts. Just gonna call with the ace-5 here. I can probably check call again and then consider folding some rivers. With the check back and the turn clubs, they should have a decent amount of queen X that continues to barrel. I feel like they kind of snap check turn. They might have just turned a king. So I think a block fold is okay here. It arguably a little thin with the 4-liner. But I don't expect them to find many raises besides queen X, so I think we can play it pretty easily. Yeah, and we didn't even get raised there. Maybe they're considering chopping and not wanting to build the rake, but that just seems kind of a little fishy play. And I'm just gonna stab a lot versus limp pots versus fishy-ish players. And I think just kind of like mindlessly barreling isn't a huge mistake here. I think checking back a lot of turns or flops and stabbing turns is also totally fine. We're going to go ahead and ISO the jacks. I'm just going to go 5x versus a limp, and we'll juice it to 6 versus 2 limps. King 10 off isn't going to be strong enough to squeeze. Most likely King 10 suited a lot. Maybe King Queen off would be your cutoff. So we get the low jack limp to call the 6, probably bringing in the hijack as well. Versus the donk, that's still, we could be ahead of tons of value donks such as weaker 10x, diamonds, etc. So we're going to be calling and not planning to raise this one. And on 336, I think Jax wants to bet a lot, especially on the slow roll. We're going to go ahead and fold the King 8 off here versus the 3x hijack open. Now we're starting to get a little dicey with the pot-sized turn. We don't have much exciting going for us. We unblock diamond, sure, but I think we're just going to make a fold here. I think we just want to go kind of half pot plus with the jacks here, especially for short stack. They might just ship their 7s through 10s a lot of the time. And so I think that's going to perform fine. I'm expecting people to value shove, protect a lot there. And yeah, as kind of mentioned before, preferring that over the 33p that lets their king queen off, etc. Realize without making a big mistake versus our vulnerable pair. I haven't noticed this yellow end before. I'm guessing it just means it's their first hand as a new player. Oh no, that can't be it. We have plenty of tags on them. What does this mean? Huh. 3xing the small blind. 4s can get in here, especially, yeah, we're in the hijack and we have nice table. So 4s is gonna, I'm just gonna open it in pure in this config here. King queen off is gonna get in the fight. And the small blind, big blind, it's not, I haven't like studied the spot much at all. I'm just going for a 23p or check on every board, and this is a good board for us, so we're gonna go for a 23p this time. On 4s, meh, I don't know what to do here. I think like a lot of small bets are fine on 987. Versus small blind call, maybe it's a little less attractive. We'll just get dominated by 5, 6s plus. I'm just going to go for the check this time. Get the min snap. I'm just checking a lot out of position here on table 1 with cutoff versus button. This hand's okay to do that with too. We're going to continue on table 4. Not the best card for us. In theory, if he makes like a larger raise, he'll have less Jack X besides Jack X of diamonds and stuff, but this guy can definitely be merged like min raising Jack X for protection. So we're just gonna check the side here. Fours we're gonna try to show down, I guess. Versus the min donk, I think we're just gonna go for a raise with the queens. Okay, versus the small bet, not much Jack X, could be King X we're ahead of and stuff. Not sure what else the range looks like. Also, I missed there's 3 players on table 1. Makes me just want to check back more, especially on this type of board. I think we're just gonna go for the check fold here, especially versus the call. And versus this guy, we're just gonna give him a raise, call here. Diamond completes. Should have a lot of flushes in the small blind versus big blind config. He'll have a lot more than the small blind does. So we're gonna check the side here. Ace is pretty gross for us, but given the sizing and player profile, it's just hard to have much of a folding range here, especially when we have second pair. And yeah, versus these sizings, I think we can consider value raising the turn or the river. I just think never Jack X or flush at a reasonable frequency. So I think that's a lot of King X that we beat. But with the diamond completing, just gonna go for the call. And we see the Jack X, so some interesting sizings. Could just be a little worried about the diamonds on the river potentially. And we're just gonna call off with the queens. And ace king. Yeah, they're just giving us too good of prices on some of these hands. Queen Jack, we can go either way. We don't really want to get shipped on, but don't expect it too much. We have the gut shot back up and a hand that can use some protection, so we're just gonna go for the small bet here. Pick up some extra equity, allowing us to potentially call off if we do small bet and he shoves. I'm just trying to think if we can get called by much 10x, and if he's gonna ship many 1 heart hands that we unblock. I'm just gonna check back this time. And just kind of knitting it up and going for showdown here. Ace of hearts 5, so probably would have had the jam off on the turn. Another mono board on table 1. What's going on here? We have just limp pot. Just make some stabs. I think any option's fine here on table 1 or table 2. Just gonna call, try to let this guy shove over us. I'll just be getting in it on the turn. Yeah, I'm just mindlessly stabbing these limp pots, especially. I don't think they're gonna have any of these 2-3 stuff. He flopped the flush. So nice hand there. Shoving flop might be better, but I kind of wanted this guy to get in there, but not sure if he's going to that often. I'm just going to fold the 10-7 suited even versus the limp. Queens here. Don't think this guy's ever folding, so I think we'll just put the rest of it in. So what does he have, like 25? See some hearts. No hearts. Hey, we made 0.18 there. I'll take it. Let's run it back and give this guy queens again. Let's hit him with the emoji game. Get him hyped up. Let's go for a big shove here after a call. I'll check raise. A C bet, a raise, a 3 bet here on the turn, and then a jam. Was the board a flush hit? King 4. We flop the set on table 2. Got 3 bet pocket 9s here. I think calling's not a terrible option here, especially on this table. And this is a hand that I like to have tricky checkbacks on a lot of the time. And on a low roll, I'm going to just do that this time. The other argument is this guy's pretty deep. So we could just want to build the pot and we can just bet small. We're going to go for the delayed, like 40%-ish bet. Get the snap. And we boat up. And just hope he has any club that wants to call. Get a family pot on table 1. Flop another set. This time we'll be trying to fast play it. There's too many players in the pot and out of position, and it's not really the immortal nuts. I'm going to be folding 8-5 suited here. Yep, so just trying to consider if there's any factors pushing us, if we want to fast play through check raise or just bet out ourselves here. I think I like the small 23p bet. Just not sure if we're going to expect these guys to bet for themselves too often. Looks like we're going to potentially take it down. Alright, one clear. They might even have 8-9 off in this config here, so I don't think we're going to start piling. I think the 66 plus size is fine. Let me get the snap fold. Actually don't know what Queen Jack suited wants to do versus a low Jack open. It might just fold. We roll really low. We're gonna fold that one. Lots of stabby on table 1. Continuing the stabby here. Alright, so we get double snapped. Only thing immediately coming to mind that we can lose to would be my queen jack. Expecting his flop straights to raise. I think we can still go for value here and try to get called by a jack. So I think this sizing-ish is okay for that. Ace 10 off, do both things. And let's see. Yep, just ace jack. Might be able to size up as well. Just don't want to get ripped on table 2 is what I'm thinking, so go for the check down. See if we can choppy chop. And we get a nice out to save us and counterfeit his pair. What did he have? Yeah, I think that makes sense. I'm not sure if he wants to probe the turn with this hand. Pretty tight config here, low jack versus big blind 3-bet. Not massive with the cold call too, but not interested in playing queen 10 suited there. I am interested somewhat in playing queen 3 suited here though. And I think stab attack is just not going to be super effective versus 4 players here. And we're going to say goodbye to that hand. We're going to juice up this one with 9s here. I think they all have pretty normal stack sizes, so go to 7. Was thinking we'd go to 6 if there was some shorter stacks. Another limp pot bottom right. Bottom left, just thinking about if we're going to be able to get any values from their under pairs. I have positive like back row properties too, but I'm assuming this hand wants to check a lot of the time. I'm just going to give up the king here. This is a card that's pretty good for both players. There's a decent chance I'll be betting a lot of my gut shot ace X that squeezed, so ace king and ace 10 suited. Probably checking more than non-spades in clubs 1, so this ace of hearts kind of blocks that a bit. And this is a pretty good card, I think, for them too, to check back a lot of their ace X and their pairs. So I don't think delay c-betting this hand has too many positive properties. Be opening small blind versus big blind table 4 with the king jack off. And versus the small sizing, we might even have to just ditch the 9s. I think recently I've been like overcalling a lot of stuff, especially kind of unrelated, but like a lot of 4-bet pots. I've been just like check calling 10s on ace XX, and we see that that's not really a thing. Like a lot of raise fold with those types of hands. So I think it's tempting to continue versus these small sizes, but I think I'm trying to just work on be a little more disciplined on those types of hands. And his the OESD worked out, so nice full equity, this small bet there that he got through. Might be a fun one to mark, although it's a weird ISO hand. I'm not sure I'm gonna impute the ranges, etc. there. I'm curious what 9s thinks of betting the flop and also reacting to the third pot turn bet. We turn the queen here. Pretty good card for us. I think we can go with a delayed c-bet here. Opening the Cowboys. So I'm wondering if we can get much more value here with the rivered ace. Trying to think of his sixes plus we'll want to call. And saw many reads on this person, but I'm thinking they might want to versus a half pot bet, so going pretty thin here. But we're gonna go for a half pot there. Versus three ways, I think king's one I'm gonna check a lot. The ace three suited also makes sense. Just playing his weakest ace x in his range passively. Both snap check. It's possible we can get some value from jack, and now we have a second nut draw, so gonna be delayed c-betting the kings. Doesn't feel good against two players, but I think it might want to some of the time. The value we'd be targeting here is jack x, probably jack with a club kicker. And this player's also from the small blind, so it's conceivable that they'd have some queen jack, king jack. Probably not much jack 10 off. Otherwise, their range besides those broadways are probably just going to be pocket pairs, so I don't think we can get too much thin value here, so I'm just going to go for the check back. And they had jack 9 off, so pretty loose small blind call. Not expecting to see that combo too often. Five bigs left. I think I'm just gonna check back and then ship turn / let him bet. And now we block everything besides his ace x that would have bet by now, so just gonna give him a chance to shove. And unfortunate river, probably just fold everything now, but just trying to be a little trappy trap. Alright, that'll conclude this one. Thanks, and later.